Whoa, that's just way too far, too fast. Whatever happened to the art of tension and teasing? You've got to learn how to sizzle before you burn it. Welcome everyone to Pen to Paper. I'm Leah Lindeman, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. If you are new, welcome to the channel. Here on Wednesdays we do AuthorTube, helpful hints, writer's help, publishing, marketing, anything that has to do with writing. And on Fridays, I dish about all the books that I'm reading and everything that I'm enjoying. So thank you for joining me for the first time. And if you are here and you have subscribed to this channel, I appreciate all of your support. So before I launch into this small tutorial about how to make a scene sizzle without even getting to kissing, why don't you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, it is a lot more satisfying to get to a kissing scene it's a lot more satisfying to get to a kissing scene and having had scenes between the two characters where they've already interacted and you feel this kind of sizzle and pop in their interactions, how they've spoken to each other, how they've looked at each other, perhaps they've even done some light touching. And so it's fun to play around with those scenes to build between the characters a greater foundation for when they actually do engage in a kissing scene. I actually intended to put this out in February since, of course, February has Valentine's Day. It is no longer February, but you know what? Everyone loves to kiss. And women like to read kissing scenes. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing this in March. I think it's still very helpful. Anyways, let's get back to actually making a scene sizzle without getting to kissing. First of all, you need to figure out what is your character's interactions. Is it friendly banter and they're friends, they're interested in more, but they're not too sure how to go beyond friends? Is it they're enemies and they're slowly grating on each other and getting to learn about one another that they actually start liking each other? You have to figure out what is the context between your two characters, their histories, and show and build their relationship through conversation, through, as I said, all these small sizzle interactions that can lead up to the moment when they finally kiss. Whether that's in the middle of your book or at the end of the book, it doesn't matter, but you still need some scenes where you kind of build toward that, and you're building and you're almost there, and then you just take it away from the reader, and they're looking for that next time when your two main characters will come together, and maybe it will be the moment. So let's go about how we can show this. As I said, figure out the context between your two characters, and then not only do you want to show the physical side of their interactions, you want to deepen their relationship by showing how they respond to each other emotionally, because physically charged scenes are only as good as their emotional attachment to the other character. If you have another character that your main character is being physical with, perhaps it's a light, perhaps you enjoy it for the moment, but it doesn't really mean anything in the end. And especially if you have two main characters who you know want to end up with each other in the end, then it's got to be something more than physicality. It's got to be something that's encouraged and built up by circumstances bringing them together. Perhaps they're thrown into the same place in the same time, not by their own designs, but by force. It could be a variety of things. Actually, I just read a book called Book Lovers by Emily Turner. I think. And she did a great job of putting these two characters together where they didn't like each other. The first time they met, they hated each other. And then 4 years later, they end up in the same small little hick town in the middle of nowhere, and they're forced to work on this editing assignment, editing this book together. And from those interactions, you see that they're not exactly enemies, but they don't like each other, and they learn to overcome that by understanding and getting to know each other through the work that they're doing together. So that's just one example of putting two characters together in a position where they didn't make a choice to be in that position, but close quarters, working together, tension brings out all this ability and potential to be close to one another and to like each other. The last thing I'm going to touch on is when you are building these moments, these sizzle moments pre the kissing scene, you want to focus a lot on describing the body's attention toward each other and what exactly are the body parts doing. What are the eyes doing? Are they looking intensely into the other character, trying to soak up each and every expression that flits across their face? What are the hands doing? Are they trying to be controlled, staying near their bodies so they're not touching the other character because there's this electricity sparking off between them? Or is it slowly inching toward the other character's hand just to feel the lightest brush or touch? What is the mouth doing, or the breathing? Is it hitched? Is the breathing rushed? How is the heart pumping? What are the feelings behind the physical motions that your character is feeling that helps to amp up this teasing and tension that could potentially lead to a kiss? These are the kinds of things that you want to think about when writing a scene. Now, I'm going to read a scene from a historical fiction novel that I thought did this pretty well. It's a little on the cheesy side, but it does get a point across that these two characters have some interest in each other than just platonic relationship. And I actually wanted to also read from Book Lovers because that's a more contemporary rom-com novel, and I dropped it off at my library today, so I don't know why I did that. I shouldn't have. I wanted to read a little bit, but here I'm going to read of a clean sizzle scene that doesn't involve kissing, but it definitely lays the groundwork for a future kiss, and this is kind of what you want to aim for. Let's see. So this girl, Viola, is reading to a major who was blinded in a war, and she reads his letters and his correspondence in the news, and he just sits there and listens. And there's a letter that starts to begin saying something, and he's not too sure what it's trying to say, so he comes up near her to read the letter, and this is the interaction that they have. The words deciphered, she expected him to move away, but he did not. She looked up at him in question. His gaze swept over her face. He lifted his hand, and his fingers hesitated, inches from her cheek. May I? May he what? She didn't know, but nodded mutely anyway. His finger touched the side of her mouth, and she flinched. Did I hurt you? He asked, brow furrowed. She shook her head. Surprised me. His fingers mirrored again, this time lightly, ever so lightly, tracing the outline of her lips. Her skin tingled under his touch. Were her lips really so full, so curvy, or did his fingers exaggerate their shape? Then his finger lingered on the thicker, coarser skin of her scar. She knew when he'd reached it. No fine hairs bristled under his feathery touch. I still can't believe you wore a veil to cover this, he said, voice low. You have a beautiful mouth, a beautiful everything. Never doubt it. No one had ever touched her mouth so sweetly. so admittingly. And her mouth, beautiful. Tears pricked her eyes. And this is a really poignant part for Viola because she has this, I think it was a cleft palate that she had and they did surgery, and so her lip is scarred in some way, and yet he calls her beautiful. So there's definitely, out of the three sisters, this couple I felt had the best tension before they actually admit to each other that they have feelings for each other. So that was just a quick showcase of what I'm talking about, how he's touching her, how she feels, and it's important to showcase this all in just long drawn out details so you really gather and sweep the reader off their feet, expecting more, wanting more, and then giving to them at a future scene. So I would love to hear what kind of takes you guys and makes a scene sizzle. What does it for you? Is it the type of relationship that the two characters have? Is it the physical aspects detailed in the scene? Is it certain tension between the two characters? What makes a scene sizzle for you? I would love to hear your comments down below. Have an awesome week, and there will be some more AuthorTube content next Wednesday.